Okay, Saxon 4 Math Group, we are ready for Lesson 70. We're going to be talking about word problems, about a fraction of a group. Okay, we've been talking about fractions of a whole, but now we're going to be talking about fraction of a group. So let's go straight to the examples. 1/2 of the carrot seeds sprouted. If 84 seeds were planted, how many seeds sprouted? Well, when you divide something in half, you divide them into two equal groups. So it's like dividing by 2. So let's try that. Let's do 84 seeds to begin with, divided by 2. Let's use our shade to look at one digit at a time. Think, how many groups of 2 can I get out of 8? 4, right? Because 4 times 2 is 8, right? Subtract, bring down. Now I'm looking at this bottom line, okay? You guys know how I feel about the bottom line. You keep working until you're all the way to the bottom. How many groups of 2 can I get out of 4? Well, that's 2. Anytime I give an answer on the multiplication step, I put my answer above the spot that I'm working on. Then 2 times 2 is 4. And we have no remainder, nothing left over. So if we look back at the question, it says how many seeds sprouted. So our final answer should look like this. 42 seeds sprouted. That's half of 84. And they did a pictorial representation too. You can see if we put 42 seeds on this side, 42 on the other, that's the same as 1/2 if you're talking about one group of those. A way that you can check your answer is to take what's on the top times what's on the outside and get the product of those two numbers. That means we multiply them. So we can do 42 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. And look, if you get what you started off with as your dividend, then you are exactly right. If you don't, then something went wrong and you just need to start all over and try again. Retrace your steps. Okay, example 2. On Friday, 1/3 of the 27 students purchased lunch in the school cafeteria. How many students purchased lunch on Friday? So we want to take these 27 students and divide them into 3 groups. And we're going to be talking about one of those groups. But still, we're going to start with 27 divided into 3 groups. Let's use our handy dandy shade. How many groups of 3 could I make out of 2? Nothing. And we could put a 0 as a placeholder. If that confuses you, you can use the 0. And if not, just keep going to the next number. Now we're not just looking at the 2, we're looking at 27. How many groups of 3 can I get out of 27? So think about your 3 multiplication facts. And it's what? It's 9. And look where I'm writing it. I wasn't just talking about the 2, I was talking about the 27. So my answer on my multiplication step has to go above the 7. Now we multiply down. 9 times 3 is 27. Subtract. There's nothing left to bring down. So let's look at the question. How many students purchased lunch on Friday? We would say 9 students. We could even go on and say purchased lunch on Friday. Now we could make this harder and figure out, okay, well, how many brought their lunch then, or how many did not purchase in the school cafeteria? And we know if the whole is 27, we could take away that 9. Watch this. And that would be 18 students did not buy their lunch in the cafeteria. Okay? And how do you check yourself with this kind of problem? You take what you got as your quotient and your divisor, and you get the product of those two numbers. So 3 times 9 truly does equal 27. So that's check, check. We're correct. And again, they did another pictorial representation. So we know that 1/3, one group is 9. And we even figured out 2/3 did not purchase their lunch. We know that that's 18, which is 9 and 9, right? Two groups out of the 3. And we've already proven why our answer is correct, because 9 times 3 is 27. Example 3. 1/4 of the team's 32 points were scored by Ty. How many points did Ty score? So we want to divide 32 points into fourths, okay, into 4 equal groups. So we're going to do 32 divided into 4 groups, divided by 4. Going to go a step at a time. How many groups of 4 can I get out of 3? I can't, can I? I've only got 3. I can't make a group of 4 out of that, so we have to look at the next digit. Now we're looking at 32. How many groups of 4 could I make out of 32? Think about your 4 multiplication facts. And it's 8, isn't it? 8 times 4 is 32. Subtract. There's no remainder. We're finished. There's nothing else to bring down. So let's look back at the question. How many points did Ty score? He scored 8 points. And that was 1/4 of the points. So again, if we drew a picture to go with that, like they've been doing, they divided those points into fourths. So if I make 4 boxes here, we know Ty got one of the fourths, okay? And that stands for 8 points. So each of these is also 8 because they're equal groups. So this is 1/4. How much did Ty not score? He did not score 3/4. Okay, and if you add that all up, that equals 4/4, and that means 100% of the points, all of the points that the team scored together that day. And again, how can you prove yourself? Well, because 8 times 4 is 32. If I had goofed and put 9 up here, then I would say, oh, 9 times 4 is 36. Uh-oh, it doesn't match. Okay. All right, example 4. What is 1/5 of 40? So we want to divide 40 into 5 equal groups. 40 divided by 5. How many groups of 5 can I get out of 4? I can't. So I have to look at the 40. How many groups of 5 can I get out of 40? Think of your 5 multiplication facts. It's 8, because 8 times 5 is 40 with no remainder. So if we look back at the question, what is 1/5 of 40? 8 is 1/5 of 40. How could we draw a pictorial representation? Well, let's draw 1/5, and remember, I like to use rectangles. And let's try to make those fifths about the same size. Pretend that mine are the same size, okay? And let's say, okay, this is 1/5 of the entire group, and we said that it was 8. It stood for 8. So I have to put 8 in each of these boxes, because we have 5 groups that have to be equal groups, okay? They have to all be the same number. Okay, and how many are left? 4/5 are left, right? We know we're right because 8 times 5 is 40. We could even figure out what 4/5 of 40 is. It's 4 times 8, isn't it? So 4/5 is 4 times 8 is 32. Isn't that cool? And there's their pictorial representation. Okay, now the instructions say draw a picture to solve each problem. So for A, 1/3, what's 1/3 of 60? So we want to take 60 and divide it into thirds. Okay, that's 3 parts. How many groups of 3 can I get out of 6? 2, can't I? Because 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract, bring down. And yes, even if it's 0, you have to bring it down. And you have to go through this whole step of saying, how many groups of 3 can I get out of 0? 0. And I actually have to write that above this digit, okay? Because 0 times 3 is 0. I have to subtract. I only know I'm finished when there's nothing left to bring down. And my final answer is 20. So the question was, what is 1/3 of 60? So again, I'm going to draw a rectangle with how many parts all together? 3. And one of these is 1/3. And we said that that is 20. Each of these pieces really has 20. And so here's 2/3. What would 2/3 of 60 be? It's 40, isn't it? That's pretty neat. We know we're right because 3 times 20 truly is 60. Watch this. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 2 is 6. And we've got a match. Okay, let's look at B. What is 1/2 of 60? Remember, half means dividing into 2 equal groups. How many groups of 2 can I get out of 6? 3. 3 times 2 is 6. Subtract, bring down. How many groups of 2 can I get out of 0? 0. 0 times 2 is 0. Subtract, nothing left to bring down. So, 1/2 of 60 equals 30. And if we show our representation, we take our rectangle, divide it into 2 parts. This is 1/2, right? And each of these is worth 30. So it's easy to see that 1/2 of 60 is 30. What is 1/4 of 60? So we do 60 divided into 4 groups this time. How many groups of 4 can I get out of 6? I can't. I could write that 0 up there if I needed to, but I can mentally hold it there. Now, how many groups of 4 can I get out of 60? Wow, that's harder. I know it's got to be higher. I'm sorry, look at this. How many groups of 4 can I get out of 6? I can get 1. 1 times 4 is 4. We had a storm last night, really bad one. And it wasn't over until way past 2 o'clock, and so a lot of us have been tired today. 6 minus 4 is 2. Next step, bring down. Now, how many groups of 4 can I get out of 20? 5, because 5 times 4 is 20. Subtract. There's nothing left to bring down, so 1/4 of 60 equals 15. And if I have to draw it, here's my rectangle. How many pieces do I make? 4. So I'm talking about one of these. This is 1/4. This is 3/4 over here. I have to put 15 in each. And now it's easy to see that 1/4 is 15 and 3/4 is 15, and 15 is 30 plus 15 is 3/4 of 60 equals 45. We know we're right because if we multiply 15 times 4, watch this. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. And look, check, check, 60, 60. And 1/5 of 60. We're just chopping 60 up a lot today. Divided into fifths, that means 5 pieces. How many groups of 5 can I get out of 6? 1. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract, whoops, 6 minus 5 is 1. Bring down the 0. How many groups of 5 can I get out of 10? 2. 2 times 5 is 10. Minus 10 is 0. There's nothing left to bring down, so 1/5 of 60 equals 12. Now let's draw it out. Let's draw 5 equal parts in our rectangle this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this section is 1/5. These are all 1/5, but on this side we have 1, 2, 3, 4 fifths left, and each of these stands for 12. So it's easy to see that 1/5 equals 12, and 4/5 equals, look at this, 12 and 12 is 24, and 24 and 24 is 48. 4/5 of 60 equals 48. How do I know I'm right? We could add the 1/6 and the 1/5, the 4/5 and the 1/5 together. We could add 12 and 48, and look what we'll get. 8 plus 2 is 10. 4, 5, 6. That's one way to check. The other way is to do 12 times 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 1 is 6. Check again. We're correct. 1/2 of the 32 children were boys. How many boys were there? Take 32 and divide it in half. Now, a lot of you know that half of 30 is 15. So half of 32 would be 16. And I even drew it out. Look at F. 1/3 of the 24 coins were quarters. How many quarters were there? Well, 1/3 of the 24, that'd be 24 divided by 3. Think of your 3 multiplication facts. That'd be 8, wouldn't it? 3 times 8 is 24. And if we're talking about thirds, we draw 3 rectangles. And each one of those, when we divide it, stands for 8. All right, let's go back now. I know you need to check written practice for 69. So hit pause as you check 1 through 6. Hit pause as you check 7 through 17. And hit pause as you check 18 through 30. And don't forget to turn your work in, okay, to get your credit. Okay, now let's take a look at the mental math. Let's run through it real quickly. 21 times 2 is pretty easy. Double that. You've got 42. Times 10, well, times 1 actually. And then tack on 1 0. 420. 25 times 2, got that. Times 1. Tack on a 0. 500. 12 times 4, got that. Times 1. Now tack on a 0. 480. Okay, with this one, let's pretend like this $1.98 is really just $2, okay? So $2 added onto this would be $7.36, but take away 2 cents, $7.34. 10 feet is how many inches? We know 1 foot is 12, so how many would 10 be? That's like saying 10 times 12, 120 inches. Round the prices, $2.58 and $6.54 to the nearest dollar, and then add to estimate the total. $2.58 would round up to $3. $6.54 would round up to $7. So 3 plus 7 is $10. Now we're going to round these same prices to the nearest 25 cents, okay? So 258 is really close to 250, and 654 is really close to 650. So let's do the 6 and the 2, and that's 8, and then 50 and 50 would be another dollar, $9. Okay, here we go. 9 squared, or 9 to the second power, means 9 times 9, 81, plus 125. Now, I think immediately I listened to the 80 and the 20, okay? But I remember it's really 81. But I'm going to go ahead and add 120 and 80 because that's 200. And then I've got my 1 and my 5 left over. Okay, are you with me there? Now add on 30. Now add on 7. Let's see if you're right. 243. Okay, choose an appropriate problem-solving strategy. Tazara has 10 coins that total $1, but only one of the coins is a dime. What are the other 9 coins? And it tells us there are 2 possibilities. And yes, you can use 50-cent pieces, okay, $half. So I'm going to go all the way back here. I had to play around with this in the beginning. And let's look at the first combination. Well, first of all, you think of a dollar, the best way is to make it out of quarters, you know, and that'd be 4 quarters. But that's not 10 coins, is it? And I have to have one dime in there. Okay, so, and I see a goof here. So then I thought, okay, I wonder if we're allowed to use 50-cent pieces. I was mentally thinking this was 75 put together. Okay, so if we did this, 75, and then I thought, well, if I use another quarter, that would put me over, and it would put me at a dollar. It would only be 3 coins. I've not used a dime. So I went on ahead and put the dime. So 50 and 25 is 75. This gets me to 85. I can't use another dime, so I just used 2 nickels. So 85, 95, then I needed 5 more pennies. And when I counted them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I got 10 coins. One of those was a dime. Okay, so then I thought, what if I just use the 50-cent piece? Is there another way to do this? And I know I have to use a dime still. Okay, so we did 50. And essentially what I had to do is take this 25 that I didn't use and split it up. And I decided to just use nickels this time because if I used pennies it was going to put me over. It was going to be too many. So 50 and 10, that got me to 60. And then I like to jump and pretend like I'm counting dimes again. So 60, 70, 80, 90, a dollar. And then I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 coins, and one of those is a dime. So those are our 2 combinations. And I do believe, yes, we are finished.